Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to the official Trackmania channel for the third event of the Trackmania Elite Cup for 2026. I'm Thomas Mangos, aka GGeek, alongside the one and only Kai Ludwig, aka Larkers Turbo. Thank you very much for joining us. And Kai, we are arriving at a pivotal point early on in the year, with the third event being the halfway mark of the winter season, and this one happens on the track which has much less pitfalls to fall through compared to what we've seen, especially last week.
Yeah, I think so as well. Like, USA will be an absolute close fight to just make it into the top 64. The gap last week, the cutoff from first to 64th position was 0.7. I expect it to be much closer this time. But I mean, let's not jump ahead of things, because we've prepared some highlights actually from the second week, because it definitely was quite surprising what we have seen there, especially the first one that we have prepared for you guys.
If you weren't with us last week, don't worry, we've got you covered, and we're going to start off by paying tribute to a couple of players. There's been a lot of new names that have made the top 64 field last time around, but two of them we wanted to pay special attention to. First of all, Polish driver Narkor, who was the record holder earlier on in the lead-up phase until the weekly cup. He made the 64 field. He would get knocked out in round number 3, as you'll see here, but as you'll see on the left-hand side of the screen, a German legend has won his first round of Elite Cup competition.
Yeah, I mean, Onio, the one and only, has been active for so long, formerly was in Mouse Sports, has won this round with a 107.5, so not the fastest time. And then we also have seen a lot of players going out quite early on. Massa having a great fight with Chemko here, getting overtaken just in this last part of the identity. It was head-to-head there in the end, but Massa couldn't hold on, and a lot of other players got eliminated. Gwen, Narco, Wosal, just to name a few. And also here we have the follow all camera just to see the different lines, how it spreads out here. Players jumping to the left and to the right as well. And it's just a beautiful scenery shot here from the top view, as we see here. Wizzy also getting eliminated in 41st.
Yeah, and now we move on to the biggest knockout of them all. This happened on round 20, checkpoint 3, on the way towards the jump in the dirt. Watch on the left-hand side of the screen. You'll see Pack on the left-hand side go a bit low, lacking a little bit of speed there on the way into the jump, and as a result, will be clipping the edge of the block you see on screen there with the rear wheels, which will be forcing him to respawn and condemning him perennially to 28th position. But he will not be the only one to get caught out. Just a few checkpoints later, it is the turn of this man on screen, Mime, to be caught out. Now, Trackmania, everything happens in the split second. It was a bit hard to see, but we're going to run that back for you. And actually, this is from the perspective of Mudda, but watch a bit further into distance. We're going to zero in on Mime's car, bright orange right there. Now, what happened there is you're supposed to land in that divot in the dirt of checkpoint 7 completely flat, but what happened here for Mime is the front wheels touched first, then the rear wheels, which actually sent the nose of the car up in the air, and after he left the jump, well, that's going to be costing him a little bit of speed there. But most importantly, as he exits the jump, you can see his car make a sharp nosedive. He tries to actually compensate for this with an air brake, but the damage has already been done, and he's set on a head-on collision course with the wall, tumbles on its side, and that's just a story all about how Mime's round got flipped and turned upside down, and he will be relegated down to P28 eventually, gets overtaken by Pack, but that is only a meager consolation for the man from Vitality who would get knocked out. Mola, who had his issues, as you saw, would live to see another round.
Yeah, I mean, he also made a small mistake there, but he was still able to get in because he jumped further to the right. So that's how he survived that. So it could have been a different story. But also here, Bren has been eliminated in the next round as well, losing a lot of speed over this identity here. And Bren got eliminated. One mistake is really everything that it takes. Heath on 24th position. But you're also going to talk about Heath in just a hot second here as we go into the next highlight. That was the last 2 KO round. And this one was super close. Nitek and Granadi were behind, and you can see Granadi maybe made a slight mistake in the earlier part of the map as well and fell 1 second behind, but it wasn't enough to catch up to Granadi. Got eliminated, as well as Nitek. Alcon barely in here on P60.
And speaking of Alcon, would join him here on round number 31. This was just before the top 10. He would get knocked down in P11, Alcon, but what you want to focus here is the top 10. There's going to be a little bit of a pause with that overhead shot that you see right there. Out of the 10 drivers that you'll see ahead of Alcon, only 3 from week 1 are in there. Those being Mudda, Nyko, and Binks. The rest, fresh new names who made their first appearance in the top 10 this season. The sites of Carl Jr., Lagu, Azion, Epos as well. There's been a lot of shuffling in the field of rotate as well. Special mention for the Polish driver from Team Ekmek, as he will finish in 9th position. Then we go a bit further on, a very close battle for survival and the top 4.
Yeah, it was a super close round here for the top 4 between Mudda, Naiko, Xera, and Carl Jr. And you can see it here in the ending. Carl Jr. falling behind, and he got eliminated. The new Falcon signing has been knocked out on 4th position. Still a good performance, but still a very close fight there for that 4th position. And then, of course, we had that last round here. It was another close final. And still, nobody has crashed in this high-pressure round, neither on China nor on France. Maybe we're going to see it today on USA, but Mudda with back-to-back wins here. Naiko, however, with a very strong showing as well, Geek.
Yeah, indeed, and much like last time around on China, less than 0.2 of a second actually separated these two cars at any point during the round. This was another absolute nail-biter of a finish, despite a little bit of a lull in speed there on the side of Naiko just before the jump into checkpoint number 6. But you'll see then on the 3rd and final sector, this is where the real climax of the round will happen. Already starting off with a good sequential jump there. Mudda still in the lead, and then we're going to go upwards and then on the left-hander, and then focus on the identity. Naiko comes in from behind, having a 1/10 deficit, but look at the speed he carries into the transfer to the first pipe. Already making up a lot of ground, goes for the alternative line, makes it work, but then on the transfer before the final pipe, loses a bit of speed compared to Mudda, and look at this. Mudda goes lower than Naiko, as you can see, and lands pretty much picture perfect with the front wheels getting traction to the right front, actually making contact right at the edge of the block as early as you can, and as a result, Mudda gets the perfect landing and rockets out of the transfer, and will take the win with a 107.498. Naiko a 0.6 is nothing to scoff at, but that is such an impressive run for Mudda to take back-to-back wins. And for Naiko, even though he missed out narrowly on the victory there, it is still a sweet revenge for him taken from the previous week after he got knocked out in the top 10 due to a technicality.
Yeah, definitely. And what a nail-biter that was here for the ending. Naiko, however, with a very strong showing, but Mudda with a back-to-back win, 2,000 points onto his account. But speaking of Naiko and also Heath, I think let's jump into the weekly news section because there was a lot going on.
We're going to do that in a moment and also talk about... We're going to do the rankings as well. But yeah, there was supposed to be a recap of the rankings. Let's just do that and really quickly riff through them, shall we?
Let's do that first,
So here is the EWC qualifying standings, top 8 of the Elite Cup. Of course, what a shocker, Mudda is in the lead. Bing still holds on to 2nd place, but is joined by Naiko in 3rd, Granadi dropping down to 4th. Xera making a great performance as well, finishing on the podium last time out, moves up to the top 5. Carl Jr. makes it into the top 6, Gwen 7th, and Epos takes over provisional 8th place. And in the ENC standings, there's been a bit of shuffling in terms of people, but also some nations making some appreciable gains, Kai.
Yeah, I mean, Nitek on P16 here for Russia. And then we also see Charles on top 14, so that is not looking too bad. And also, for me, a player that a lot of people definitely sleep on because top 9, Roadtaker. Poland had, I think, like 6 Polish players in Division 1, and Roadtaker, I definitely want to focus onto him today as well. Then Elcon also taking the torch here for the Czech Republic, and then Mudda, of course, being an unstoppable leader right now. So love to see that, of course, and I think there will be a lot of movement happening. And here you can also see the whole Elite Cup standings, first to 32nd position, Mime on 32nd position, and so on and so forth. Still a lot of Frenchies in there, and this is the completion of the top 64.
Yeah.
All right.
Now let's get on to the news. And we're spoiling it a little bit here. We've already got that prepared, but this is silly season that just keeps on giving, everybody. First of all, the first announcement of the week is the introduction of Weibo Gaming to Trackmania, Kai, with Heath being signed on as a player and Tak coming in as a coach as well. This is a pretty solid pickup if you want to get introduced into the Trackmania realm there.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Heath joining Weibo Racing and Tak as a coach, definitely a very strong pickup as well. And then we had another signing happening as well with Naiko joining Foot Esports as well, Geek.
Yeah, indeed. Naiko joining Foot Esports, the man who previously was from Team Loading and actually just the day after 2nd place left the ranks of Team Loading. Well, we know where he is headed now as Foot Esports have picked up the young Frenchman, currently sitting P3 in the standings, as we said. And this is a great signing as well. Great opportunity for him and a great opportunity for Foot Esports, who make a return to Trackmania for the first time in over 2 years. The last time they were on Trackmania, 2023, back in the Trackmania World Tour Duo days, when Chemko and Birdie were tearing tearing it up in the MEA rankings and absolutely dominating there. We already are really, really glad to see Nico get a solid shot, and we're glad to see Foot back. And then the absolute bombshell that got dropped less than an hour ago. It is Team Liquid with not one, but 2 TM players now, as 2023 World Champion OTAC has now joined the ranks of Team Liquid.
Yeah, what a lineup they have now. Otak and Epos in one team. And I really look forward to see what Otak is able to do. Wasn't having the most luck on the first day of qualifying. Let's see if he can bounce back. I mean, this was announced like just a couple of minutes before the stream actually went live.
Less than an hour ago, guys.
So that is quite something. That is just hot information here that has been dropped. But there have been more things that we want to talk about, because the Beacon Worlds League kicked also off last week. It's another event where players are participating that also play the Elite Cup. So you can also see that other events are happening. Then there's BTL Winter that has been announced. So this is something for the Baltic community. This will take place from March 11th till 26th, where the qualifier is taking place. And then on the weekend from April 11th to 12th, there will be the online event taking place. I will be casting this one as well. So I'm looking forward to see who's playing. There may be some newer faces as well. And also, last but not least, there's the big LAN race, which is another LAN event that takes place on the 21st of March in Cologne, with a prize pool of €2,500 at Gamescom LAN in Cologne.
Yeah, indeed, and that's going to be a wrap-up for this segment of Trackmania News. There's been some info where we've glossed over. Of course, we're kind of pressed for time here, given that qualifying starts in less than 5 minutes. But if you want to keep up with all of the happenings in the Trackmania esports scene, make sure to check out the Trackmania esports socials. They're listed at the bottom of the screen right there. Now, we've caught up with all the action from last week and the previous days. Let's now go into the business of this week. This week, the business being, of course, the map that we're going to be seeing today. That is USA 2026, as you can see there from the little preview. And this is a map that we've said is not as crash prone maybe as what we've seen, and could be conducive to a bit of a higher pace, but there are still plenty of traps to watch out for. And Kai, you're going to be talking us through a round here on USA 2026 and tell us what to watch out for.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the map is pretty much straightforward in that regard. I mean, it has the quarter pipe at the start, which might be the hardest part, because here you have the dirt section at the start. You want to avoid to gear up, get a nose slide, and then tap the brake nicely and get a lot of speed into it. Then the entry into the bobsleigh is quite important, because the landing afterwards is really decisive, because you have icy tires here. You want to land very flat and smooth and then control this landing onto this quarter pipe. Then the map pretty much transitions into a multi-style map, which is quite easy to drive, to navigate through, just to squeeze out every kilometer possible here. Then you have a drift here where you do not have to tap the brake, you need to jump into it. And then this slide, a repetitive slide, is quite hard to do, because you need to set this one up nicely for the ice. You don't want to readjust a lot and then snap to the right. Make sure to steer very, very early into it. So this is the second part that is quite hard. And now we come into the ending as well. We have something to do there, which is called a neo slide right here. So it's a very hard technique. We're gonna explain that in a second, but you can see a lot of tight and hard drifts in there. And well, let's actually go ahead and explain the neo slide here, because I think it's a technique that is not familiar for everybody.
Yeah, it's a technique that's not so familiar. And you jumped the gun there. I was going to add something with the end. You also have, of course, the risky where you try to clip at the very edge to try and get an earlier landing. But this is one of the areas where there can be a lot of make or break things happening towards the end. Now, class is in session, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Turbo is there to explain to you the techniques involving the Neo slide. He jumped the gun a little bit, but don't worry. He was very keen to explain to you the Neo slide. And for that, we're going to go over at Birdie's side. And I hear the sirens because we're slightly pressed for time. But here we go. This is a quick replay of Birdie. And watch this in slow-mo.
Yeah, so you do a Neo slide when you are too slow for a slide, or you have not steered into a direction for long enough. Then we do something called a neo slide. So if you do not perform a neo slide when those conditions are present, well, you just end up in a no slide. It's a very important Trackmania skill, and you do that by steering into the direction, then stop steering and then right immediately brake and steer again. And then you get a slide and not a no slide. So you can see it here again. He stopped the steering movement and then right immediately tapped brake and steered into the direction. This is very important. And again, you have to do that if you're either too slow. It's in gear 2 when you can, where you have to neo slide. I think low or mid gear 3 it does work, but it's also quite tricky, and you have to steer like for half a second into a direction. And if you can see on this map, the directions are changing rapidly, so you cannot steer for half a second into a direction before you can actually enter the slide. So that is very, very important to do there. But maybe the one or another has actually seen this map already at some point, because this one is a remake of Vantaneo, which was the first map of the TMGL 2021 winter season. Mudda's first TMGL map that he played, and he got last on this one.
Yeah, and I gotta say,
Carl won it.
Yeah, ever since Mudda's debut, it's been a shaky debut in the winter 21 season for Mudda, but ever since then, it's safe to say that he's become a force to be reckoned with and one of the star players in the Trackmania scene overall, and he's the subject of our player profile for this week, the Wheelman from Australia, the Thunder from Down Under. Now, the wheel is very recent. It's down to 2024, I think, where he made the switch. But since then, he has, of course, before that, he has had an illustrious career. Two-time TMGL champion, once in solo, once in duo. He also won the Open Grand League back in fall of 2020. And with the wheel, he's also been pretty stout. He finished 4th at XP Evo 2025, finished runner-up in the World Cup as well. And he's the man of the moment with those back-to-back wins and currently standing firmly atop of the standings.
Yeah, that is for sure. And I mean, it's just so impressive to me still. He picked up wheel just over 2 years ago and is so talented with it, has won 2 knockouts. And speaking of knockouts, let's take a look onto the biggest career highlights that we just picked out, because Mudda was the first person to clean sweep a cup of the day. That means winning the seeding, getting first position in there. You can see it there. It's a quite old clip. And then also winning all knockout rounds. So that is quite something. That is so impressive to do. Mudda was the first one to do it. I think Granadi did it twice as well. He was failing it, I think a couple of days ago on a snow car map where he lost the final in a very, very brutal fashion. There's a great video about that, but that shows he's familiar with that knockout mode. He's very, very fast and consistent. And then, of course, we have this one moment as well where he won against Carl Jr. in the TMGL season.
Yeah, indeed. This is 24th of April, 2022, the date where Mudda etched his name into the Trackmania esports history books at the end of an enthralling 5-game series, a real case of David against Goliath on Tiny Gap. Just watch this. Mudda with a great dive into the Tiny Gap, much more speed compared to Carl Jr., and that was enough to pip the then four-time world champion, I think, by 6 milliseconds to the Trackmania Grand League Spring 2022 championship title. An absolute stout achievement. He would go on to win yet another title, Smart of Alliance in 2023, and of course, the man of the moment here with the current standings lead. As we go into qualifying, which has started now, and we're going to be seeing the refresh of the qualifying leaderboard in just a second. You can see the world record has already been rebeaten again with a 0.413 for Gwen. It was a 0.491 literally just before we started the stream, and the standings continue to shuffle about, and you can see everything being populated. The top 10 just below the world record, currently Epos with a 0.646, and the 5 players at risk, the ones that would make it but that are on the hot seat. Current top 64 cutoff, a 103.599, but expect this mark to go down extremely quickly.
Yeah, I guess so as well. But I mean, the storyline to follow for today, how are the new signings performing? Otak, how is Otak performing now for Team Liquid? What is Neko doing? Can he live up to the expectations that Foot Esports and also a lot of players do now have on him? You know, after his great showing last week, he was so close of dethroning Mudda. And then, of course, what will he do, right? I mean, he's been very, very successful in those events as well. But then we have the man of the moment, Mudda, the player profile. You have seen it. He is so good at those knockout modes, right? He has won 2 out of 2 so far. But there's also a certain someone who has not collected a lot of points, and that is Thomas Cole. Pack 102.5 already to start things off here. And I think that even puts him in first position for now. So Pack is hungry, but still looking for his first good result.
Yeah, still hungry for his first good result.
Second.
Yeah, he comes up just a bit short. Elcon with the number 1 spot with a .522. And just as a reminder for those of you joining in, this is only one of many qualifying servers that are currently en route and that are actually ongoing where players can join. And it's the times at the end of the 15-minute session across all of those servers that gets compiled and then used to determine who gets through to top 64. Now, we were along with Pack. Let's see who else is on the server. We've got Granati, the wheelman from Germany, who has he hasn't had an unfortunate exit in P17 last time out, but he's going to be looking to try and continue upholding the honor for Team Germany, currently sitting in P4 of the standings, so not a bad start to the season overall for himself, and you can see him 9th in the overall qualifying standings with a .673, and I've been hanging around mainly on Birdie's stream. I'm a beta viewer myself, and I've seen some practices, and I've seen some people talking qualifying cutoffs. Some people were almost immediately jumping to, yeah, this is going to be a 102.9. Early on, I was a little bit skeptical given the variance in the times that we've seen in the public leaderboards, but given how that leaderboard has shifted, that could become a very real possibility. And as you can see, we're already getting close to the target with Autis now on a 103.1, the last player at risk.
I think so as well. It will be much closer here than on France, I think, because there's not too much like risky stuff happening on this map. You have this mixed style part here where you really push, but you do not lose half a second on those kind of parts other than maybe you crashing, right? I think the main speed losses are the quarter pipe jump and then the ice that Granati now traverses. But even the ice, I think, you can somewhat save it and only lose like 0.1 to 0.2 of a second. And then, of course, we have the Neo sites in the ending with different lines as well. And I mean, Granati is a wheel player, so I wonder how his strat is looking like. I mean, it's quite hard to do this kind of stuff here, but Granati with a great identity here survives it, and I think consistency is the main focus for players. And I think someone like Granati could definitely perform well with consistent driving. I think he was struggling a bit on France. Maybe he was over-safing a bit, maybe, or couldn't really find the rhythm because he got eliminated for his standards quite early on P18 or 17, I think.
Yeah, indeed. As we're continuing to follow along with the wheelman himself, we're going to check out who else is there. Mr. Neil F1, the American player from 4 Wheels. And one of those that we're going to be, of course, watching out for, one of the rising talents for the last few months or years in the Trackmania scene overall, of course, for proudly representing the NCSA region. And yeah, this is going to be one name to look out for as well as he seeks to move up and up in the rankings. And if you look at the leaderboard on the left-hand side, there's a couple of other players that we can highlight. Some people like Spark, the Indian player, looking to try and make a name for himself as well. Chemko, which we see appearing in top 60. And if we take a look at the overall leaderboard, which is available on Trackmania.io as well, Wasal currently sitting in P10. We see the 2 AG Global players in 13th and 14th, among others. And Nyko currently sitting in P23 for now.
And Elcon just drove a 0.4.
He drove a 0.4 like maybe 1 or 2 minutes beforehand. So this is becoming super stout, man. As my connection decided to drop. Okay, slight turbulence. Sorry for that, ladies and gentlemen, but I think we are back.
It wasn't me. Wait, it wasn't me.
It wasn't you.
I thought
it
that
was
was
me.
my lag. My internet is...
No. It was on my end. It was on my end. We're just going to be circling back. Don't worry. We'll be back in just a second, folks. Just bear with us. Man, it's been a while since I've had one of these actually happen, eh?
Yeah, I mean, usually I was the one providing some problems with the internet here in Ireland not being that stable, but maybe I've figured it out, hopefully. Hopefully everything works, but yeah, I mean, I think good that you mentioned it here, Geek, with all the players from the different regions. Definitely Spark, also someone who is getting overlooked quite a bit. I mean, he has been performing so well in duo competitions which he played together with Kuda. Maybe someone like Min will return as well, right? I'm not sure when he comes back from his service, but he's also a very strong player. And then Chemko, United background, being so good as well as Birdie, got into Division 1 and I think even got into top 32 last week as well. So I'm looking forward to see that as well, right?
Yeah, Birdie finished in 29th last week, for those of you who may have missed it. And Yeah, it's nice to talk about some of these other players, like Bestie, the other half of the brothers duo, along with Hill, also being spotted as well. Yek Costo making a return, 102.999. We're starting to get below the 103s for the top 64 cutoff. Gold Nugget on the hot seat with a .022. And there was another name that also popped in my leaderboard that I kind of wanted to talk about. Well, Chemko. Remember, two-time AOTC champion, so never sleep on the current leader for Turkey here in the Elite Cup. There's also Tomchan that we see in there. Feed making a stance in P49. Birdie's currently in 38th with a .909, as pointed by the chat a little bit earlier on. And we also see a Wave Friedrich as well, who has been a very, very highly placed contender in the time attack leaderboards. Mudda, if you're wondering, the man of the moment, the championship leader, currently sitting on a 102.863 in 32nd position. And you're currently following along with Henkan. We've been following along with him for the last few minutes, and I'm trying to find him in the leaderboard. I wonder where his time is. He currently sits on a 103.186. He's currently sitting well below the 64.
Yeah, but there's a lot of names that I haven't really seen too much from here at all. For example, Pika and Paul, you know, they're on the top 60 as well. Both the Portuguese players not looking too bad. Then a campaign player who has had a very good time here as well. Away Friedrich on 49th. Maybe that is a person that has name changed, but 49th position, good to see that as well. Spam, who barely missed out on Division 1 last week, now on 47th, so good to see that as well. Of course, he plays for the for the World Cup, but for the Nations Cup. He plays for that ranking, so let's see if he can overtake the likes of Stufts for this time. That's also a storyline to follow, but there's just so many things, Geek. I think it's almost impossible to cover everything, but I think we're gonna have very close fights today, and just couple of thousands tearing players apart eventually from getting knocked out.
Yeah, indeed, and there we go. It's happened. .971, the cutoff right now, with 4 minutes and 30 seconds left on the clock, with currently Pika on the hot seat. We also see Narcor's name pop back up, as well as Holo, Huso, and Mince. Mince, the man from Arizona who was one of the early leaderboard pace setters on the esports version of the map before everybody piled on, basically. And yeah, in terms of the .4 club, well, there are currently 3 members, Elcon being the early member of that, then was joined by Wosile, and later on by Scrappy. Wosile with a .472, Scrappy with a .485, Letster getting close to pop into the .4s as well on the .530. Pack, you see him standing at the starting line. His one run, he considers his one run with a .548 to be enough, and it's very likely that it will be. Afi with a .580, tied on time with New Prime. Bren in 8th, looking for an upturn of fortune as well compared to what happened in the first 2 weeks of competition. Otak in 9th, looking for the same, and Carl Jr., the 7-time world champion, was in 10th until Mudda popped him with a .6 flats.
But everything after that is so close as well. I mean, down from Carl Jr., we have multiple players in the 6x range. Nitek, 27th position, 707. It's just 17 players or 16 players inside of that range, which is absolutely incredible. And that also confirms our thesis that this map will be close and the cut-up will be much tighter in this round. As we can see now, it's half a second between first and 64th position, and I think Granadi as well as Pack, they are safe in Division 1. Granadi currently on 21st position with a .673, and then we have Neil also on the track, of course, but he is looking on 58th position, not that safe for now. He can definitely get overtaken, so maybe we're gonna focus on him for the last couple of minutes.
Yeah, indeed. We're going to focus on Neil because his current time is a .920. This is getting a little bit touch and go. Well, it was a .920 when we switched to him, and it is still a .920. Right now, he will not make the field. He currently sits just...
He's 66, yeah.
He's 66, indeed, just above the top 64 cutoff, currently held by Milmi with a .917. And Birdie also looking on the hot seat with a .909. This is going to be a bit touch and go now for these guys. 2 minutes and 20 seconds left on the clock. Away Friedrich has also just popped up as well. Keys in there. And yeah, the top 10 look pretty safe. And Carl Jr. moving to the top of the standings with a .454.
Wow, that is a great time here from Carl Jr., to say the least. 454, which is also the new... No, it's not the new world record because Gwen has been driving a 413 just 30 minutes ago, so just before everything started. But the 454 sits on P number 2, but of course the leaderboard is getting flooded here with new times. 31 minutes ago, 2 minutes ago, 8 minutes ago, 7, 5, 8 minutes ago, all players have been hiding their pace, they have built part maps and practiced them. But good to see that Carl Jr. and Gwen seem to be the fastest right now. But are they also the most consistent players? That is the question, because Carl, of course, got a very good performance in P4, so he can have a little bit of breathing room, but he wants more than that. That is for sure. You know, gain some confidence in this format. Know, okay, the practice, validate yourself that the practice that you have done is good enough, right? Because it's a complete different style playing 39 rounds of knockouts as opposed to play cup mode, Geek.
Yeah, indeed. 39 rounds of knockout is especially like tiring if you're not too used to it. Like piling round on round on round on round is definitely wearing you away, not just mentally, but also physically. There's been some players who might be wary of the fact that maybe their performance might fall off because of fatigue setting in the fingers. And one of such example that unfortunately might not make the field today is Matats, the Brazilian player, who I believe still I think he deals with carpal tunnel. I don't really want to go off on there, but I know that I know for a fact that he tends to deal with pain pretty often.
Wrist pain, right?
Yeah, wrist pain indeed. And he said that in knockouts, that might be the bane of his existence. As we go on to the last few seconds of qualifying, Birdie now at risk on the .909. .910 is the cutoff now. We might see Birdie get bumped out of the field. Same for Josh. He's on the .907 as well. J-Swag making an appearance. 10 seconds left. Neil is out of it. He has aborted his run, and the American will not make the field. And we're going to have to go for one last refresh here on the qualifying leaderboard. Are there any safers? Are there any heartbreaks? Is there a heartbreak for Birdie? The answer should be a no. He is in the field in 63rd, just 1,000th ahead of Away Friedrich, who himself is 6,000th away from Key, who has the unfortunate honor of being the 65th player in this qualifying session. And just to give you a bit of an idea, .910, top 64, .444 for Elcon as well. This is less than half a second between first and 64th. The tightest spread between first and 64th that we've seen so far in qualifying this season, and I think the map is really a big part to play in it.
I think so as well, and also one could say that Key didn't have the key for Division 1.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I mean, 65th, also Milmi, 66th position. Jamco and Huzo also missing out on Division 1. So it's only one Turkish driver in the first division. But, Elcon with an insane time as well here, as you have said. But guys, top 64 is eligible of getting Elite Cup points, and also there's of course different trophies that are being distributed amongst the players who is just after those trophy rankings. I think it's a trophy 8 for the winner, and just a little bit more that you get for that, but we're gonna come into that. And of course we have a slightly different format because we have not 4 knockouts from 64th to 16th position. It will only be 2. And then onwards from 16 players, it will be only 1 knockout. So we have 39 rounds with 1 grace round. So 40 rounds in total, Geek.
40 rounds in total. There's going to be a true test of endurance and pace and consistency. All 3 glommed together to try and decide whether or not they will see another winner, or if Mudda will be able to claim a three-peat and thus put his stamp onto the winter 2026 season, as we're going to be waiting patiently for everybody to load in. It's a little bit of a server waiting moment, but here we are. Here right now. No elimination. We go on to the grace round, as you rightfully said, Kai. And this is the first one to actually get your eye in, get yourself comfortable. Some people feel like, well, I've already been myself comfortable in qualifying, might as well just delete that round. And you might see some people do that, but given that this is the first round without a KO, they can afford to do so.
Yeah, let's go into the first round. It's the grace round, of course. Let's go with Mudda here for that one, or maybe to the free camera, because players are actually currently just warming up. You know, no one is getting eliminated, so that is not looking too bad. But I mean, Mudda definitely didn't get a bad start here, of all things considered. But again, I'm so much looking forward to see like who is running deep today, who's gonna just survive the longest, and maybe gonna see some surprise, because last week we had 7 new players in the top 10. I think it will be quite unlikely that a number like this will occur today as well, but who knows? Who knows? Who knows?
Who knows, indeed, as we go through the identity for the first time. And we're going to be seeing a couple of players, especially in the early rounds, mess up their timing and take a dive into the abyss, as it were, as you see that there's a lot of water, and it's a pretty deep lake that there is there in the on USA 26, and you might see some of the cars disappear in that particular instance. Bren will be taking the honors of winning the first round with a 1:02.600, and just as a quick record, the world record is currently wrong, but it will be updated right now. Just a quick refresh. There you go, Gwen. On the .413, that is being solved now.
So there you go. The first round has been done. No elimination. And let's go into the first rounds and see who's going to get eliminated in there.
Uh-oh.
As... one player didn't start? Maybe?
Oh, Legu started late.
Legu started late. Oh no. That is very unfortunate.
Yeah, this is very unfortunate. You can see already a late start for Legu, which is going to be compromising his run a bit. But given that this is the first KO round, he might be able to take advantage of mistakes of others. Although, that said, he might not be able to take advantage of too much of them for too long. Although we do see Evon and Glast having had to respawn very early on, having messed up their entry into the bobsleigh and the quarter pipe. So Legu is up a place courtesy of the huge crash from Glast. But Evon is a bit further ahead, about 6 to 7 tenths of a second. We're going to be moving along with him as we go onto the ice patch before the slide. And what's happened there? There's a lot of people that seems to have had some issues. Well, I'm wondering what's happening there. There's a lot of stuff going on there. Tween is down in 63rd, actually battling with Magorian for survival. We're going to follow along with the Slovak driver, Marek Paka, currently sitting on the heels of 63rd position. Magorian moving up to 62nd. It's going to be down to the wire, down to the line. Who's going to emerge in survival? Tween takes advantage of a slowdown from Magorian over the plastic and survives by the skin of his teeth for 29 milliseconds. 63rd place for Magorian, 64th place for Glast, and one who must be sweating bullets and wiping off his forehead is Legu, who thinks, thank goodness that late start did not cost me.
Yeah, wow, how lucky is that? But I think it's the best round you can do that with a late start. Maybe it was just a little bit of a lag or something. So very, very good to see that. But also Tween barely staying alive there. So he is the one who has not been eliminated. So the first hard section here is this particular jump. You can definitely misalign it and misjudge it. And I think we have a couple of mistakes here that are happening. So there you go. It is Neon who has been falling behind, as well as Tween again. And yeah, here we go.
Yeah.
So they are behind.
Yeah, unfortunately both are behind, and we could see it clear as day, just crashing onto the side of the transfer as well, which is not exactly the way you want to go out. We saw someone actually slide out quite dramatically, not even get the grip through the dirt flick, and we're going to see that reflect in the standings in a short amount of time. Are they able to take advantage of that? That's Tona, actually, who fell by the wayside because of that ice slide, and now we go on to the identity. Neon might be in for a chance at survival, but he has to actually go past Tona, and it looks as though he might be running out of time and out of row to be able to make the move happen, unless... Oh, that was such a bold move from Neon. In the end, he comes up 600th short. Tona, man, he had his butt on fire there. Let's say that way. And yeah, Neon almost saving his day.
But 5 seconds there of a gap, so that is quite something. And I'm also now on the surface, so I'm able to do it. I just had some game problems as well, but now everything is working. So let's go into round number 4 and see what Tricky is able to do. Also names that I haven't really seen too much here.
True.
All things considered. I mean, formerly known as Grid Machine. He has now been back, but not sure if he has played step 1 or 2. I'm not quite certain about that, but
that's his first appearance of the season. And Afi, indeed, I was paying attention to the standings on the left-hand side of the screen, and indeed, Afi, forced to respawn not once but twice at the start, will be condemned to P60 and likely eliminated at the end of this round. Following along with Yek Costa, Wizzy with a respawn, having missed the dirt flick, and that puts the Portuguese driver in on the chance of survival that will get comforted with Narcor slow no exit from the dirt flick over the crest, and the Polish driver goes down to 59th, and now we see the man from Weibo Gaming heave a bit further up ahead, currently sitting in P56, will be able to make it there safely, unless there is something happening on the identity. Birdie slowing down as well, looking to just make it through. Man, Birdie, don't give us heart flutters like that. He does make it in P57, yet Costo survives another round. Narkor and Afi knocked out in P59 and P60.
But Afi, definitely a player who has a lot of just expectations onto him. P15 in the ranking, got 15th and 14th in the last 2 weeks, now P60. So that is not a good performance from him, but they can just see how quickly it can go. One messed up quarter pipe jump and you are eliminated here. So Birdie also being close of getting eliminated, was half a second behind, and also Jan and Wizzy with different start lines here at the start, both going incredibly wide there to maybe accumulate more speed into the bobsleigh there. But it didn't look too bad for them, as Naiko now, the new foot signing, he is the player who was last crossing the checkpoint. But I think everybody survived it this time around. No, actually not. It's Azion, and also Elcon is so far behind. Elcon will be eliminated here, as you can see. Look, he's more than 10 seconds behind, as well as Azion, who has made a severe mistake. So the others, they can just save it. So let's go with Charles here for the remainder of the round. But actually a lot of players have slid out there. Maimo, Paco, and Xera. So Azion is overtaking here. So if Elcon only respawned once, well, he could have been in. But now Xera with a mistake as well. Azion, what is happening? Azion with a DNF. Elcon not giving up, but it's such a messy round to follow, and Xera will still be in, even though he has massively lost time. Kurizo Tina surviving it as well, but 8 seconds plus, and you're still in. That was speech bubble moments here by the looks of it. So what a round. Azion and also Elcon out.
Yeah, that's probably the bigger news. Elcon, of course, coming off a P11, his best season finish last time out, will not get to see the light of even the top 50 as a result of that huge topic in the start. That was right at the transfer as well, at the quarter pipe, and he was forced to respawn probably 2 times instead of 1, and thus would get knocked out. And Azion's going to be kicking himself with that DNF as well. He did the thing that people should not do in Knockout, which is retire, because in Trackmania anything can happen, and usually does, as just did happen. One of the drivers in the field that has actually crashed on the side of the quarter pipe, that is Panda, the Frenchman formerly of OrgGP Numalops, his teammate from Systemic Prod Hydra, currently sitting in P55 and currently looking towards the tail end of the leading group. And we go on to another choke point, the ice dirt flick, where we've seen plenty of people slide out. Nobody in the top 50 slides out, but we do see Josh getting a little bit of a bump on the exit, and thus the British driver from Team Shift will get relegated to P55. He still has potentially a shot, given how much heartbreak we've seen in the end. Hydra currently sitting in 54th. Will he be able to hold it for that long? Can Josh try to spring something back? The answer is no. Josh is out in P55. Oh, I was speaking too soon. And Binks, this is a big implication in the championship right there.
Wow.
Binks getting knocked out in 55th. Panda retires.
So a lot of surprises already happening. Panda also a player to definitely look out for, but Binks eliminated. Elcon out. Afi also eliminated already. So a lot of big names and also players that are quite far up the leaderboards have been eliminated already. So that is quite something here, to say the least. But let's go into round number 7 and see how this one pans out. Mime gets the worst start here from the players, but let's go into the follow all camera again. Paul falling behind. Who fails to jump here? Is there any mistake? Everybody survives it, but no, there's 1 respawn, 2 respawns. Brinken and Legu are the players who are at risk right now, and I think they need a miracle to happen. But we have seen miracles already happening here in round number 5. That was plus 8 seconds for one of the players, and they were still in the race. So here, another part where players make mistakes. Costa now sliding out. Wizzy as well with a mistake. Birdie as well, but not losing significant speed. The respawn is at the start is a bit more costly than the one at the dirt soup. So Birdie still living on to it, still on orange position, and also making the neo slides across. So Birdie will be in, as well as Wizzy and Melio. And
Wizzy's out.
Actually, Wizzy had to respawn the ending. He fell off And now Wizzy is out. So that's why never DNF. Legu still in with +6 seconds.
Legu's still in with +6 seconds, despite that respawn right at the start of the quarter pipe, along with Brinken. And yeah, as we said, anything can happen in Trackmania, and usually does, as Legu was the perfect proof that you should never ever give up a round in knockout, especially in Trackmania. Round number 8, 52 players remaining. Birdie and Legu, who are towards the tail end of the field, will be kicking us off. We'll be following along with Legu from Team BPP, currently at the tail end of the field. He was the worst to have crossed the checkpoint, but of course, the gaps are pretty insignificant here at the start as we go towards the follow-all camera again for the quarter pipe. Let's see if anybody falls off on the other side. Yes, Evon will be forced to respawn as a result of that mistake, and he will be locked way far away. We're going to be following along the battle for survival. We see J-Swag going for the full outside line, trying to keep himself in the midfield. Paul from Portugal, who we're currently following along, battles for survival for top 50. He's currently going alongside Hale, as well as Flimsy from Team Onyx, the American driver, looking to try and get some advantage on home soil. Gwen slowing down a little bit at the entry into the dirt flick, and Tomchan as well. Huge crash as well for Paul. There is a lot of crashing happening there. Tomchan now at risk of being eliminated. Paul barely grazes the wall. The inside completely messes up his line for the checkpoint 10 drift. Tomchan might still be in it. Respawns a galore. Jan from formerly Team Wild is out of here. It looks like it is indeed the case. Paul with a clip will make it through. Jan and Evon are both out.
Oh my, Jan and also Wizzy, of course, being very good friends and also formerly playing for Team Wild, just parted from them to see their option for the Esport World Cup a couple of days ago, and they both got eliminated back to back, and both in similar fashion, both failing the ending, just having to respawn in there, so they're out and eliminated. So that is quite unfortunate to see. So a lot of surprises already happened here, but let's go into the next round, round number 9, and see who falls off here at the start. Let's go into the follow-all camera again and see who does make the jump. Worker jumping very low there, doesn't clip, but this time it is only one player failing it, and it is Barbos. Barbos, who had the world records, just preparing for this event when I was looking, and I think there was also a great Mudda tweet from it, who really upped his Twitter game in the last couple of weeks, tweeting about Barbos' time, and now he's the one being eliminated. But it's not clear with whom. There's plenty of slides out. Kurizutina with a mistake. Birdie as well. And Birdie gets away with it by the looks of it because he only lost 3 seconds, whereas Kurizutina lost 5 seconds. So Birdie again being on the hot seat, being the last player to survive in this round, gets that Neo slide out pretty nicely and will survive it. No respawn in the end. And there you go. Kurizutina and Barbos eliminated in this round.
Yeah, and very hefty slide out as well in the dirt flick from Kurizutina, which actually sends his car beneath the barrier. It's not a full barrier. It's basically just a metal bar on stilts. And the car just has enough of high clearance to go underneath that. This is why you saw Kurisutina's car on the other side of the track when he slid out from the dirt flake. 48 players remaining. We're already going towards the quarterway through this knockout match. Round 10 out of 40 is underway. We're going to be following along with the way Friedrich, one of the top leaders of the time attack leaderboards a little bit earlier on, before even qualifying, rang the bell, and he currently has a pretty solid start. Let's go along with a follow-all camera to see if anybody falls foul of the transfer. Everybody makes it through clean. I think this is the first round that we've seen so far, Kai, where the quarter pipe has been cleared without any issue.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was the first time, maybe the second time. I think there was maybe round 2 or 3 where there maybe was a slight clip, but it doesn't really matter too much here as this is a very competitive round that we have on our hands here. Let's see who fails that dirt flick here. We see a huge mistake there from Naiko, and that will be a huge knockout because Naiko is looking very good in the leaderboards on P3 right now, and he will not score significant points, but also Jadon under attack here, but Hedra not with a good slide. Jadon is overtaking Hedra here. Josh also in the mix. Away Friedrich, however, with a no slide, so Hedra will overtake, and Hedra will survive, as well as Lingo, who slightly clipped in the end. And it's Array Friedrich, as well as Naiko, eliminated. Oh, I didn't expect Naiko to get eliminated after a 10th and a 2nd position. Now he's eliminated on 48th.
Not the ending that he would have liked for his first outing under the FUT Esports banner. And again, that same choke point, that dirt flick that seems to have caught so many people off guard, and that is claiming a few more victims here and there compared to what the quarter pipe is serving up as we go on to round number 11, following along with Melio, who's in the midst of the starting field, going through the bobsleigh, and we now go on to the helicopter camera to see what happened, and Pika with an absolute shocker of the start before even the quarter pipe will be forced to respawn even before then, and he's joined by his fellow countryman Paul.
Oh no. Oh no. Both Portuguese players here have made that mistake. How ironic is that? Paul and Pika maybe even sitting and voicing like, did you fail? Yeah, I also failed. Maybe they're just laughing right now. So Paul and Pika looking to get eliminated, but they still have, I think Costo's still in by the looks of it. Or did he get eliminated? No, he's still in the race, so there's still a Portuguese hope in there. And also Spam, who has made the Elite Cup today, has been making a mistake, but since Pika and Paul are multiple seconds behind, Spam lives another round, even saves it here with a no slide, and also Melio with a mistake. So Spam is in, as well as Melio, and Pika and Paul are eliminated, Geek.
Yeah, and back-to-back eliminations, or two simultaneous eliminations for Portugal, which is not going to be doing the affairs of the country's representation in the Esports Nations Cup standings, that is for sure. But yeah, it was pretty funny in hindsight to see that. Unfortunately for Pika, it's a bit unfortunate. It's a bit of Schadenfreude maybe for some people, but yeah, Pika with a slow start, and then we saw Paul fall off the side on the quarter pipe, which has triggered a respawn, and yeah, 07s for Portugal indeed, as we go on to round number 12, following along with Mimo Jr. as he goes towards the quarter pipe, and everybody still managing to keep himself within 2/10 of each other, and a huge respawn already. It's Birdie, the man from Team Ekmek, the one and only top 1 Turkey, is currently in the throes of eliminations, along with Josh as well.
But Josh not with a huge mistake here, as you can see. He's only 2 seconds behind, so he can definitely bounce back. Gives us a great overview over the playing field. So let's go with Josh and see what the dirt flick has to offer here. Of course, you just zoom over that ice part because your car is still affected by the icy tires. Josh, however, didn't get a good exit either. Lost a lot of time there, so he would have been able to catch up to Charles here. But there's still the identity left and plenty of mistakes that can happen for the players here. Josh is really pushing it. Charles saving a bit. No side happening here as well. I see a player being a bit slower. It was Worker, but Ledsta and also Roadtaker are failing it. So Birdie is actually in. Birdie with another PayPal because we have seen 2 mistakes at the end from Roadtaker and Ledsta. Ledsta also, who has been performing so good in the qualifier, saving Birdie and Josh here, and then Roadtaker, also a player that I didn't expect to get eliminated that quickly. But have you even seen the respawns, Geek?
I tried to follow along the ones that were trying to survive and were on the verge. So I was tunnel visioning a little bit when trying to spectate, and
yeah, same.
I don't think you can blame me because there's so much stuff happening on this map as we go along with Pussy Topako, the Hungarian player, currently sitting last at the exit of the bobsleigh, and we now go on the quarter pipe. No respawns. Everybody makes it through clean, and we're going to be circling back to the perspective of Paco, who's at the tail end of the pack in 42nd position. Again, J-Swag being a little bit of the outlier there in the drop, going for the full outside dirt line, which can be faster if you execute it right, but people don't seem to have really committed themselves to risk it besides the man from New Zealand.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, very cool line, and
Mudda.
now we've seen
Mudda's
some mistakes here. Mudda with a respawn. That is a huge respawn there to happen, and I'm just gonna stay in the follow all camera now to see if there is a mistake happening here in this identity. Mudda could get eliminated here. No one is fading the ending. There's one respawn from Birdie. Is there another one coming in, or will Mudda get eliminated? And I think that is it. Mudda is out. Mudda is out on 41st. First, and 41st position, and the storyline of a three-peat is sadly coming to an end for now.
And that is big, big news and a big, big opportunity for points for those chasing Mudda that has just opened up. And this is going to be, of course, very, very important for the ones that are chasing. For instance, Gwen, the man from AG Global, currently sitting in 7th in the standings. Is his teammate still alive, or did he get knocked out early? He might have been knocked out early from how everything just been through there. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunities for people to catch up points. Gwen is the first one that sticks to mind. Granadi as well is trying to get some points there. Massa as well, trying to bounce back from that P59 last week out on France 26. Have there been any respawns that we've seen so far? We did see Tona. Yeah, Tona unfortunately getting out there, forcing himself to respawn after missing the quarter pipe. Lingo currently sitting in 39th, a little bit further away compared to where he would like to be, but there's still 2 sectors to go and a lot of opportunities to catch up.
Definitely, there's plenty of opportunities to come back here from that mistake from Lingo. He didn't have to respawn. Look at the speed here from Lingo catching up to the tail end of the field here. So it's not looking too bad for him. And there's a huge no-slides, 2 new huge no-slides happening from Spam and Hydra. And Spam kind of survived it, so being a little bit lucky as well. And Nighttech as well with a mistake there, slightly clipping there. And he will also still be in because Hydra has made a bigger mistake here. And then Tona, of course, being on 40th position due to that respawn. So again, plus 2.5 seconds were enough to survive in this round here. And Spam, again, with a bit of a shaky ending, but still in there to survive it. And also the times, 102.8. That is definitely not too slow here from Pushy to Paco, to say the least, and also from Otak. So good to see those times. And still Pac being in, Bran being in, Gwen being in, Wosile, Mime, Massa. There's still so many high caliber players in here, as well as someone like Razi who could deal some damage as well.
Yeah, and the thing is, you mentioned about the times, 0.8s, 0.9s, 0.6s that we've seen. We see people keeping the higher times close to their chest. This is definitely not the time for pushing. Maybe towards the tail end of the match itself, when we get down to the top 10s, maybe even the top 8s. But right now is not the moment to push. We have to actually play the format. If you're a player like Nighttech, if you're a player like JSwag, all you have to do is fight for your survival. Slow times, be damned. The goal is to keep making rounds. As we follow along with the Russian, we did see someone hug the outside wall just before the ice. Exactly not the place where you want to. That was Tomshan and Snow looking to be on the verge of elimination. But Snow, look at the speed he carried over the crest, going past yet Kosto, as we do see Dionysos as well, who is now in the throes and potentially getting eliminated in P38. Following along with Snow still. Are there any bonkers, any divers towards the end? No, not quite. Tomshan versus Dionysos in P37 and 38 to add. Oh, Nighttech slides out. Is he out? Yes, he is! The Russian player is knocked out because of that slide out in the plastic that we briefly caught just before the end, and Tomshan will be knocked out with him, and Snow, there's a lot of players that are going to be wiping off the sweat of their foreheads because there's been a lot of stuff happening. It's always a hectic end here on USA.
Yeah, Nighttech with a 17th position last week, of course, will feel a bit gutted of getting now 37th, because Dionysos, we haven't really seen too much with it, which is a very good sign, you know, finding himself never in danger, just surviving, just cruising around, and then almost facing elimination, whereas a player, for example, like Spam has been in the bottom end of the field quite a bit already due to a wonky ending. I think that was twice the case. Sometimes you can be unlucky and then already be out in those kind of rounds. Let's see who has made a mistake so far. No one of the players, as I want to follow with Xera, who had quite the week last weekend as well, jumped up to P5 with a 3rd position, looking good for him. No one sliding out here majorly, but there was a mistake happening. Who was that? Let's see the checkpoint refreshing. It was Richie and also Worker, who are both now in need of a mistake on the top here, as there are multiple hundreds behind here. Dionysos again with a weaker ending. Richie clipping. He will get eliminated. What is Worker able to do in the ending? The answer is nothing, because Dionysos stays ahead. Worker and Richie out.
Worker and Richie out, and yeah, that was Worker actually tapping the inside wall, the exit of the dirt flick with the right rear, which was basically a violent shock, which basically sent the car all the way back in the other direction and stopped it dead, pretty much, and thus would make the job for the Frenchman a lot harder, along with that of Richie, who clipped on the inside of the identity, as you saw a little bit earlier on. We're down to 34 players. By the end of this round, we'll be down to 32 players already, as we're going to be following along with JSwag in the middle of the field, the New Zealander looking to continue piling on the rounds, and we now go on to the quarter pipe just after the bobsleigh. Are there going to be any heartbreaks? Oh, Epos with a very hefty clip. He manages to make it all to the other end safe, but he will be relegated to last place provisionally. Here, it's 4/10 down compared to the rest of the field.
But that's definitely something that Epos can catch up to, especially seeing just the mistakes. Epos also with a low jump there, releasing before and to land smooth inside of the block there. And let's see if there's any mistake happening. Xera and also Flimsy now with a little bit of airtime. So Epos is catching up to 2 players who even the whole field. And there's another mistake that has happened. And I think that was Yekosto who went into the wall. So Epos again finding himself in the top 32. Another great performance and coming back nicely. Flimsy was risking it, but Mime with a mistake himself and Mime getting eliminated as well. Yekosto surviving into the top 32. But what happened to Mime, Geek?
Basically, what happened to Mime was that he went just a bit wide on the entry into the the final plastic ramp just before the finish, and full stop-picked in the pillar of the finish without even having one of his wheels trigger the finish gate. So that's what allowed basically Yekosto to move back up into 32nd position. That is such an unfortunate way to knock out, and it seems as though the suffering keeps on piling on for Mime in a season where everything seems to go from bad to worse to even worse than worse as we go into round number 18. Onto the quarter pipe we go. Are there any fallouts? No, just a little bit of a slow exit there from both Melio and Charles, who are going to be battling for survival hill as well, trying to keep himself in the rounds, trying to crack the top 30 here on this particular round, going on to the jump into checkpoint number 6, then the approach in there, as we did see one of the players just a little bit up ahead fall by the wayside. We're going to see the checkpoints refresh to determine who that was. Nobody clipping at the end. It was Yekosto, who's currently at the tail end of the field, but it's still looking very contested right now as Pam goes for a bit of a different approach, attacks a little bit early and a bit more conservative on the double right, missing the gear. Yekosto is down in last place. J-Swag versus Spam. This is the battle for survival here. Charles is also in the wings as well. This is going to be taking one to the identity. Huge clip from Charles, which is going to be condemning the Colombian driver to P31. Yekosto finishes just a 10th behind. Spam, again, had the fire behind himself, but manages to escape that fire and live on for another round.
Live on for another round, indeed. And I mean, you at least lose that gear and that part. But Yekosto wasn't able to control it and definitely got outpaced here in the last couple of rounds. So he was taking risks that he maybe should have not taken or is not comfortable with, but still a very good performance from him brings him into the top 32. So he can be proud of himself. And now Xera doesn't get a good start, as well as Lingo, who's half a second behind. But let's see who makes a mistake at the start. Everybody does survive it. So another no mistake round happening here, as we also now are almost at the halfway point. We are in round number 19, and let's see what's happening here as Lingo gets a very good approach, overtakes Xera here and catches up to Lego here in this part. So this is not looking too bad for them. Let's go into the dirt soup here, as it is not looking too bad for Lingo to catch up to.
Oh, Xera, though, with a supreme exit from the dirt flick, will move back up to P29 in his riding contention along with Snow. It's still all to play for here. Nobody even crashed before the identity rings the bell. Let's go for the follow all cam to see if there are any clippers. No, not quite. We're going to go back to the perspective of Xera battling with Razi and Spam as well, who is on the verge of being eliminated. What does the stopwatch say? Spam is out by 1/100th of a second. Razi is through. Snow gets knocked out as well.
Yeah, what a round here. Just a couple of hundreds between the players. 103.483 was the time that you needed to survive it, and that was quite something. So probably the closest round that we have had so far, and more are coming because we are just halfway through after this round here, and I'm just looking forward to see it. Who is running deep into this tournament? We have new faces here in again, and I want to see how this is getting played out, and still a lot of rounds with 2 KOs coming into play as well. Let's see who makes a mistake at the start. Everybody survives it yet again. J-Swag, I want to see how fast his line really is. He goes very wide there, then having to oversteer a lot in this sector. So he sacrifices a lot of exit speed and then tries to jump smooth in there. So it does make a lot of sense, though, I would say. But it's probably just all about personal preference. It's not really gaining or losing too much time. And J-Swag plays very nicely. Now Masa, however, in last position alongside Xera.
Dionysos is out.
Well, just when I say that, the checkpoints do refresh. And we see Dionysos and Legu, who are now behind, as well as Soldier. Dionysos 1.5 seconds behind. But Hill with a clip here. And Hill on the on his way to get eliminated as long as nobody makes a mistake in the ending, and that is indeed the case. But again, only 1.4 seconds between first and last, and also New Prime winning the rounds here ahead of double Team Liquid, Epos and Otak.
Yep, great showing from Otak and Epos there, and great showing from New Prime, of course, with that round win. And yeah, you said 1.2 seconds between first and last, but 7/10 between first and the last survivor in that round. We're slowly but surely kind of like weeding out the field, and the cream rises to the top here on this particular KO match. Round number 21 out of 40, 26 players remaining, and we're going to be following along with Wosal, the man from Team Gen.G, who is looking for an upturn of fortune after some very unfortunate early knockouts in the early part of the season, going along with the helicopter camera for the quarter pipe. Paco with a bit of a vindicative line through there, having to wiggle a little bit at the landing in order to actually make it stick, as we do see J-Swag again with the full outside line. Paco battling with Mimo Jr. and trying to tandem this together to catch up to the back of Legu Heave, as well as J-Swag, who's currently hanging around the tail end of the surviving field. Going on to the long right-hander before the ice patch and the dirt flick. Are there any heartbreaks in the dirt flick? Yes, Soulja with a huge crash, and Mimo Jr. as well. It looks as though that might be saving the bacon of Paco as well as Legu, as long as they make it through the identity unscathed. We're going to try to follow along here. It's going to get a little bit hectic here. Prepare for chaos as we go onto the Neo Slides part. Xera trying to move a little bit further up the field. He manages to make it so beautifully. Huge crash towards the end. Are there any... Oh, Mimo is out. He tried his best to send it, but he completely messed up, and he will be out. Razi will be the last man to survive on 24th position, 8/10 behind the winner, Gwen, with a .685.
But yeah, good player that you mentioned here, and also great and respectable risk there from Mimo Jr. or Mimo Jr. to just kind of try to come back, you know, try to be the glass cannon. And Wosal currently sitting on 31st position in the ranking with a 17th and a 45th position. Definitely not something that's how he intended his season to go like, but that is a great showing from him right now, as well as Razi. I mean, Razi has been performing quite well as well, currently in the top 30 and also top 13 in the ENC ranking with a 24th and 30th position, so he can definitely beat his top performance for now. But for that, he has to survive this round. Again, no mistake has happened at the start. Everybody seems to survive. Jadon, the player in the tail end here. Bren going insanely risky there, almost crashing into the wall, but gets away with it. Let's go into the helicopter camera again and see who makes a mistake here. Everybody does survive it. It's a very close round here that is brewing out. Xera and Jadon in last position at the moment, as no one is really slowing down significantly. Legu and Tricky are getting attacked. Gwen is in there as well, but this is so close to call. Xera and Jadon still in last position. Who's gonna get eliminated? Is someone making a mistake? Legu not with an all speed. Tricky as well. Carl Jr. is getting eliminated as well. Xera, Legu and Jadon both surviving by 0.5 behind the leader.
And Carl got basically, you know, the girders, you know, the support girders right at the edge of the plastic. His left rear got caught in there after he overextended, and that has sent the Canadian player down into the last places of that round, and thus will be knocked out in P24. Xera was almost making it. He came up just short. Will be knocked out in P23. Still a solid backup performance, shall we say, after that absolutely stunning third place last week out. Following along with Razi before we go into the camera from the helicopter view as we go into the quarter pipe. Everybody clearing it nice and easy. Legu and Lingo, or Lingu and Lego, I guess we could coin it that way. Currently sitting in P21 and P22. J-Swag continuing to stay himself in the midfield. This is a great outing so far for the man from New Zealand. As we do see Josh, it feels like, I think I recognize his skin, who actually was sent to the back of the field with a huge slowdown just before the dirt flick. And it is indeed the man from Team Shift in the UK. And both Razi and Lingo slow as heck, and thus will be dropping down to P21 and P22. But Josh is not out of the woods just yet. He had a very slow double right-hander before the identity. This could be very tricky right now. It's very touch and go. And watch out for Razi trying to put it all on the line, all on the track. Is it going to be sticking? The answer is no. For less than 0.03 of a second, Razi gets knocked down in 21st. Lingo down in 22nd, sorry, and he retired that one. He's like, yeah, I'm completely out of it. And that's a bit of a shame because we've seen that anything can happen here, and that was such a close call between Razi and, of course, Josh. Josh dodged a real bullet this time.
Yeah, he definitely dodged a bullet there, maybe a full magazine in this regard. I mean, it was so close. Great risk there from Razi as well. And I mean, Lingo fell off the map, so that's why he decided to DNF. Geek, now the thing is, we have 2 more rounds with 2 eliminations, and I think now players really need to make sure to survive because, 10% of the players are just getting eliminated within this 1 round, and J-Swag might be one of them because he has been making a mistake here in his signature line. He went wide on the dirt and is now 1.3 seconds behind, but it's still an insane performance from J-Swag. But let's see who will accompany him because we have seen a player who's very slow, and I think this was Legu, who has been struggling quite a bit as well, and he's now 1.6 seconds behind, so he needs a miracle from the top players here to get into the next round. But it seems like everybody's calm and collected. Everybody does survive it. New Prime slowed down in the end, but again, 0.5 between first and last position being in. Lego and J-Swag both eliminated due to individual mistakes, and still a good performance from J-Swag though. Top 20. What was his other good result? Let me check that real quick.
Yep, make sure to check those.
His first time in. No, he got 54th and 46th, and now he got 20th. So that is a very good performance from J-Swag.
Yeah, big jump from J-Swag in terms of points, and unfortunately for him, it seemed as though the outside dirt line before checkpoint number 5 has come back to bite him pretty heavily as we now go into round number 25. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is the last KO2 round of the entirety of the Cup of the Week here, and we're going to be following along with Fossil at the tail end of the field after checkpoint number 2, going towards the quarter pipe. The identity is not there just yet. Thomas, just wait a little bit more longer, shall we? As we go on to the helicopter camera, checkpoint number 4, it will be Josh at the tail end by 0.4 of a second from the leader, but he still has visual contact with the tightly knit league group. 0.3 between first and 17 there. This is looking very contested, going very wide, just like Brent did on the setup before the jump. As we go towards the dirt flick, are there going to be any slide outs, any heartbreaks there? Everybody makes it through clean, and good speed from Josh to get past Gwen, who is now fighting for survival along with Tricky, as well as Josh and Heath. This is looking very, very racy now as we go towards the identity, following along with Tricky as he tries to make an attack stick on Gwen, Josh, and Heath. Heath will be the heavy clip, will be dropping down to P18 perennially. Can Josh try to pull something back? Granati goes a bit wide, Tricky goes sliding out, and Josh is through for less than 3 milliseconds, less than 0.02 of a second, and again, Josh from the jaws of defeat rescues victory and survival. Heave gets knocked out in P18 for Weibo Gaming. Tricky down in P17.
But still a great performance from Tricky here on P17. But Josh as well with strong showing resilience, one could say. Not really finding himself affected by any of those situations that he was in right now. Just trying to cope them and finds himself in the top 60. You love to see that. So now we have only 1 elimination per round. So that means that we have 15 more rounds to be playing out for, and also a huge point jump from P8 to P7, but we're not quite there yet. We have to say bye-bye to 50% of the playing field before that round is even occurring. So let's see who's getting eliminated in this round. Jadon now is the player behind, and also Josh with an awkward line, losing a lot of speed there before the third tube, and there's one player sliding out. It is Gwen, one of the fastest player who set the world records on the map before the Elite Cup just started. He is 2 seconds behind, but the identity still has to be cleared. Bren is a bit slow. Scrappy also with a different line, maybe trying to save it. And I think Gwen with that is eliminated. And Bren also lives another day. Can call himself lucky that Gwen failed before him, but I think he probably knew it beforehand already by taking a look onto the checkpoint. But Gwen, P16 for him. There was definitely more possible for the still young Frenchman who got 5th in the seeding.
Yeah, and that is not really going to be, that's going to be helping his cause still, that top 16, compared to the absolute shocker of an outing that he had last week out. Remember, within the first 10 rounds, we lost the likes of Gwen, we lost the likes of Narco, New Prime, as well as Vosile. And speaking of the devil, Vosile from Gen G currently sitting in top 15 right now, so this is already beating his other outings by a long shot as we go into round number 27 through the quarter pipe. Jadon just a bit slow on the uptake. We'll be sitting in P15, and actually with a bit more speed, we'll be going side by side with Coco on the way to checkpoint number 4. Nobody going for that full outside lineup. We saw J-Swag a little bit early on, who definitely was a bit of an outlier in terms of the approach to that dirt part. Jadon moving up to P14, but this is only a temporary place. Remember, there are still 7 checkpoints to go thereabouts as we go into the dirt flick, and he slide outside will be Coco, who hits with the nose at the apex, and the Frenchman will be locked in P15 most likely as we go down the double right-hander and into the identity with Jadon, who will be surviving yet another round. He can afford to clip here and there as long as he does not fall and force himself to respawn. It will be all A-OK. And a huge slide out. That was Area. Area might be out. No, he's still in. I thought for sure that the respawn was going to be more punishing than that, and that Coco might still be in, but no, that double respawn from Coco at the dirt flick was so costly for him. Area gets saved. Coco down in 15th.
Yeah, Area just had to flying respawn there, whereas Coco did a double respawn. And with that, Coco is just one position away of tying his best result that he has had on China. He got 14th position there, but he now got top 15. Still a good performance, but I think for the ENC, it will be very hard to get the top sport for France if he continues like that. Still a good shot of definitely making it directly to the World Cup, also with all the other qualification opportunities that just have were given by the structure of this event. But let's go into this round and see what happens. We still have 2 Germans in, actually 3 by Massa and Granadi, as well as New Prime. Haven't seen too much from Massa so far, which is a very good sign. And I just wanted to say that before the top 16 round started. You know what? My winning prediction today is Massa. I think Massa is going to win today. But firstly, let's see how this round is developing, because we see it's being very close. It's only 0.4 of a second. Melio being the player slowing down a little bit, but also Josh not with a good slide here. But it all comes down to the ending. Who's clipping? Who's willing to risk more? Granadi going very wide. There's someone clipping, but it's not enough from Josh to overtake Jadon, and Josh is out on P14. Epos winning here with a sub 103. But, well, what is your prediction, Geek? And also, what is the prediction from the chat?
Well, I see unbiased prediction in the chat. I disagree, but at this point, I guess we can have some bias rolling in, and I want to pull for Wolstein. I think he deserves a break after the 2 back-to-back outings where he has not been able to show himself to the true strength of his potential. And right now, the man from Genji is delivering on his promise. Currently sitting in the top 13. Pussy Topako currently sitting at the tail end of the field. And as we're going to go through the quarter pipe, I want to take a little bit of a look at the others that have been staying somewhat silent and somewhat blending in with the rest. And one of those is Melio, currently the Frenchman sitting in that top 13. He has had a solid outing. Also, Pac, who had some disastrous outings in both China and a disastrous knockout along with Mime last week out, is in the field. Look at him, the man from Vitality, currently sitting in second, battling with Granadi at the splits, as we're going to go back on the helicopter view for the dirt flick, and a huge slide out from New Prime, who's going to be confirmed eliminated with that huge slide out, and even Melio's slowdown will not be enough to save the man from Team Shift as we go towards the identity. We're going to be following along with the perspective of Melio. I'm just trying to circle between the players to see where the gaps are at, to see if there is any real players at risk, and we're going to be seeing Jadon making it through most likely, despite a bit of a touch-and-go approach into the plastic. Melio is through. New Prime gets knocked out in 13th.
Yeah, it is New Prime getting eliminated, and I think he was already struggling in the round from beforehand, so maybe the mentality was still not quite on par with how it should be. So New Prime in there, and that leaves us with 2 Germans in the field. And let's go on to the next round. Round 30 out of 40, so still 11 rounds to be played for. And we're moving closer to the top 7 here, where the huge point jump is coming into play. 8th is worth 100 points, and 7th is worth 200 points, so double the points. You definitely want to finish in the top 7 here, but of course it's easier said than done. That is for sure, because you have high skilled players on the racetrack, and it's only 0.2 between them. We don't even look right now who's failing the start, because everybody just survives and it just pays here. That is happening, and the first mistakes come in this sector right here. Let's see who makes a mistake. It is Jadon who slides out, and Jadon with a quick respawn on only 2 seconds behind, but I think that is the last nail to the coffin for Jadon, unless someone makes a mistake in the ending. Area looking good here as well. Another Belgian player in alongside Scrappy, but there's a mistake happening. I think it was Melio who was making a mistake, and Otak as well. But Otak versus Jadon. Otak stays in, even though I think he was the one making a wheelie, right?
That was Otak. That was it could have been both, because that was a very, very dark car that we saw actually clip on the inside there of the second turn of the identity. But I reckon it was the man from Team Liquid that actually got... I
think so as well.
Yeah, I think that was a very hefty clip on the right front from Otak that set him up for potential elimination, but he manages to survive yet another round. And this is already beating up many of his previous outings for Otak. Currently sitting in the top 11, looking to track the top 10 and maybe even further with the top 8 and those big points shifting that you've mentioned, Kai, as we go on to round number 31. We're already going into the last 10 rounds of the Cup of the Week here, ladies and gentlemen. And Paco opting to save a little bit the quarter pipe will be relegated down to P11th for a temporary fashion as we go on board with the Hungarian going through the double dirt left-hander. Melio currently at the tail end of the top 10 and getting left behind by the leading group as we go towards checkpoint 6. Then the big jump. Oh, Wosal attacking very aggressively on the jump towards the inside, going from the helicopter camera, the overhead view. Everybody clears the ice flick. This is going to be very, very close, and the identity is going to be even more important to nail down to the last centimeter of track as we go on to said identity. First corner, then the right-handers right there. No significant clips. It's going to be all down to the wire. Massa and Area battling for survival, and Area will slide out and get knocked out. And Epos was also close to get knocked out for 400s. He manages to survive. Otak wins the round with a point weight 1-7 and less than 0.4, less than half a second between first and last. This is some incredibly stout rounds right there.
Yeah, what an incredible round there. And I was just focusing on Pussy Tobacco, who was just fighting his way into this round after a weak start, but he was able to get away with it. But still, like, just having to really fight for it. You know, we have seen different lines over those parts as well. But Paco's probably like, whew, I survived that round. There was incredible pace from the players. And now Wosal and Melio are quite far behind. And this is like a responsive map, right? If you just make a mistake, well, you need to push. You need to push out of oblivion and make sure that someone slightly fails that part. Now, Melio have a second behind. This will be very hard to come back from, as Massa is the one who is just in somewhat of close proximity, but he gets a very good line there. But Melio pushing a lot on the inside, coming back to Massa. It's neck and neck between them, but Massa with a little bit more speed before the drift, and we go into the ending again. Let's go into the follow-all camera here. I suppose I think this is the best camera to focus on the action. Paco slowing down, Melio overtaking, and I think Paco could get eliminated unless someone makes a mistake in the ending, but it looks like no one is doing that, and Melio stays in, doesn't lose a lot here over the leader after his weak start, and Paco is eliminated on 10th position.
Yeah, indeed. The end of the road there for Pussy Paco, who still comes away with a very solid points haul with that 10th position in the books, as we're going to go on to round number 33. And yeah, this is a very new look leaderboard, isn't it? Bren, Otak, Pac, Wosal, Granati, Massa making a return in there as well. Scrappy as well. Super outing from the Belgian, currently sitting in the top 9. And Bren, of course, the winner of the previous round that is in there. Melio, we've already talked about him. He's been making a solid performance for himself and a solid showing for himself so far this weekend as we go along with the quarter pipe, and it's going to be Pakic sitting at the tail end of the field so far, but still within 2/10 of the leading field. This is where really everything counts. This is where you have to put it all on the line, because a shot at the top 8 is big, big news and a chance for bigger points even further down the line, as you've mentioned a little bit earlier on, Kai, as we go on to the dirt flick. Are there any slide outs? Nobody slides out in the top 9. We got this dialed in nice and easy. Pac still at the tail end, but about 2/10 down. Watch out for the identity. This is where everything could still shift around. We're going to go back to the helicopter camera from the overhead view to see if there are any big slowdowns. You can see Pac going back to within the tail end of the field. He's going to try to make an attack stick on Granati and post it. Wosal to the line. Pac gets knocked out for 9 milliseconds. Wosal by the skin of his teeth. He basically just grappling with the edge of his fingers on the ledge before a significant drop, and Wosal makes it through the top 8, and credit where credit's due. Pac finally gets a big break after such a poor run of form in the first 2 events.
What was that round? Every time below 103, and Pac is getting eliminated, being 1500s away from the winner. Some rounds you would have won with that time from Pack, but there you can see how incredibly stacked this field here is. And now it's the money round. You want to make it into the top 7, but one player will say bye-bye here and will only go away with 100 points. Incredible stuff happening though. Scrappy is right now a bit further behind. 0.3 of a second, comes back with a bit of a better line, but has to oversee a lot on that exit. Goes for a no jump there and a drift setup to come back to get a bit more speed. Mudda slowing down here a little bit as well, but now all comes down for the dirt zoom temporarily here. Everybody survives it and it's very close. Epos slowing down though. Epos now in last position, and let's see if it will stay like that. Let's go into the identity here. Who is going to make it into the top 7? Let's go into the helicopter view again. Epos 1 car length behind, pushing though, is catching up a little bit. Melio now a little bit further behind, gets a good approach for the ending. Epos, Granadi, Melio, who's going to survive it? It's Melio clipping, and Melio down on P number 8. But again, what an incredibly close round that was, and Pack would have survived with a time from the round beforehand.
Yeah, and that's gotta say, you just gotta be on your A game every time on every round here in the knockout, and it's a sure thing. Like, Pack was on his A game, but Melio was just a little bit more on his A game maybe than Pack. Maybe a little bit more lady luck on his side as well, but it's still a solid showing for the Frenchman in the top 8. Now moving down to the top 7, and yeah, this, as we said, this is big points opportunity for everybody looking to catch up on the runaway leader so far this season, which is Mudda, who has been knocked out way early. Back in P48, I think, if you weren't with us a little bit earlier on, as we go towards the quarter pipe, it's going to be Wasal exiting at the tail end of the field, and he actually slows down a fair bit. He's lost a lot of speed on the attack of that corner before checkpoint 4.
Yeah, Wasal very far behind and also didn't have any exit speed to work with. So still a good performance from Wasal, of course, but he wants to have more than just a top 7 in there. I mean, he got, as we already mentioned, 17th and 45th, but look at that. Now a battle is brewing up again. It is Wasal versus Granadi here for that last spot in the top 6. Granadi's behind, but Wasal drifting a lot, very aggressive, so Granadi's catching up, but Wasal again with a better line into this part. Who's gonna survive it? Wasal with not the best speed, Granadi pushing, and Granadi, the wheel player from Germany, is getting eliminated. Wasal lives another day.
And for Wasal, when it's your day, it's your day. Top 6 secured, and yet another 100 points extra in the bank. He'll be looking for maybe 100 more as he seeks to make himself a spot into the top 5 as he knocks out Granadi, as you said, the wheelman from Germany. Still a creditable P6 with a great bounce back after that unfortunate knockout that was a bit earlier than expected last week out on the last KO2 round. Here we go then, round 36 out of 40.
Yeah, let's go into the top 6 rounds here. For now, we have point jumps being just in 100 intervals up until the final, where we have a jump from 700 to 1,000 points. But still, top 6 is already a very good performance for the players, especially for the likes of Scrappy, who we have not really seen all too often in the top 10. I think he wasn't even there at all. I think his best position was, I think, like top 20. I think like top 22 or something,
yeah, that might be something
along
like
those
that.
lines. And then 39th on China. So Scrappy looking to get some good positions. And of course, the player with the most Cup of the Day wins, now not with the best third zoop here, is getting overtaken by Otak, but has a bit more speed for the ending. Let's see if Scrappy can live another round. Good apex here in that drift as well, but still a bit further behind Otak here. Wosai slowing down as well. It's a very close round. Epos going very wide though. Who's going to survive it in the end? Scrappy overtaking Epos. Who's going to survive to the line? It is Wosai and Epos both failing, and Epos is out.
Oh, the full stopping with the left front from Epos as well. He does get the trigger of the finish gate, but about 2/10 too late. And that is one Team Liquid member down, but they still have a chip in the game with Otak still in it to win it. And the top 5 is starting to look very, very stout, guy. This is exciting. This is really, really exciting. I don't know about you, but I'm pumped.
Yeah. I'm pumped as well. It's such a nice event, and we still have 2 Frenchmen and also Bren looking for a very nice performance in here. I mean, he has been getting 25th and 25th place, now up to guaranteed top 5. So he's looking for some points as well, currently sitting on 26 in the total ranking. But then also Wosa, kind of same scenario for him, as well as Scrappy. Massa has gotten some good points in, and well, I mean, Otak finds himself in yeah, not a good position as well. So every player is really looking for some points, maybe other than Massa here.
Yeah, everybody is, as I said, the knockout of Mudda is very much an opportunity that opened up for a lot of players, and these ones are making the most of it right there. We're following along with Vosal at the tail end of the field so far in this round, going through the dirt flick. Otak slowed down dramatically for the dirt flick, actually. He manages to make it. Massa with a huge clip of the right rear as well at the exit of said dirt flick, and that will be relegating the German down to last place. We're going to be following back up with the two Frenchmen, Otak and Vosal, hand in hand. Vosal maybe going for a bit more of an aggressive setup in that particular sector, as well as you've mentioned earlier on. Bren and Scrappy battling side by side for the lead, and everybody safes it nice and easy, and that little clip from Massa has cost him dearly. Still, a top 5, a huge bounce back, and a far cry from P59 last week.
Yeah, so Scrappy, P33 in the ranking. Then we have Otak, P35. Vosal being on P31, and Bren being on P26. So every of those 4 players are still looking for some big points here and jumping into the top 10. That is a huge opportunity for all of them to get that 1,000 points. Scrappy, of course, being the most experienced in this format, has the most Cup of the Day wins in total in Trackmania, and gets an insane quarter pipe jump here as well. Even counter steers to avoid skid marks and finds himself in that battle for the lead here. Otak was struggling quite a bit in the previous rounds, now on
huge
P4 here, but I mean, if I say struggle, I mean 0.1 loss in one of those sectors, but look at this. Players are swarming out and no one is making a mistake. Who's gonna get eliminated, Geek?
This is gonna be very, very tense. Otak at the tail end of the field by 1/10.5. It's still very much all to play for. Bren is also waiting in the wings, trying to pile on the advantage. Scrappy trying to go for the lead as we go into the identity. A bit of a clip maybe for Bren, who slows down dramatically. Otak looking to try and take down his former teammate with which he won the World Championship. It's down to the line. Scrappy with a huge clip gets knocked out after his right rear gets clipped onto the girders on the outside of the track, and we now have an all-French top 3. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the very first time in Elite Cup that a full nation has locked out the top 3 positions.
Yeah, I mean, that is for certain, because Mudda has been winning the first and second one. And what Australian is there? J-Swag had a very good showing today, don't get me wrong, but he was not even close to the top 10, right? So still very good showing, but nothing of the likes of Otak, Bren, and Vosal. What they are producing here is absolutely incredible, but I think someone like J-Swag can also get there, and I hope to see him in the top 10 eventually, maybe even on Brazil next week, who knows. But let's go. Vosal, Bren, and Otak all in dire need of points. Otak, of course, just getting a disconnect on the very first round, getting eliminated in P64. Then Vosal also not with good performance so far, but who's gonna get those 1,000 points? It's looking good that it will either be Vosal or Bren, because Otak didn't get a good transition here, is 0.15 behind, and he needs a miracle to overtake either Vosal or Bren.
Going on to the identity now, and you can see that this is looking very racy. Bren taking the advantage for Twisted Minds. Otak a little bit further back, but Vosal slowing down dramatically, trying to go for an alternative approach, and Otak clipping at the entry into the finish there. Will get knocked out. Team Liquid will not come away with a win this weekend, but man, this is looking insanely stacked. Bren versus Vosal. Twisted Minds versus Gen G. Both players in both organizations looking for their first win of the season, and for both organizations will be looking for their first win in the Trackmania Elite Cup as we go on board with Vosal. Round 40 out of 40, the final round, the duel between these two. One of them a world champion along with Otak back in 2023. The other one a Trackmania Challenger League champion along with Skandir back in 2023 as well. Both going side by side at the exit of the quarter pipe. Currently Vosal trailing Bren by 600ths of a second, but it's still all to play for. Going into the double dirt left-hander, and a clip from Bren, which is going to be deliberately slowing down the Frenchman. I say deliberately, but no, but unfortunately I wanted to say is going to be dropping in down to last position provisionally, but watch out for the last 2 parts. Vosal is going to try to safe it.
This is slowing down.
Well, Vosal slows down, but look at the gap that Bren actually has seen open up due to that little touch at the exit of the dirt, and that might be unassailable right there as we go on to the identity. And it looks as though for the first time of the season, and for the first time in Trackmania, Gen G comes away with a win. Vosal is your winner here on the USA track.
And what a great performance there in the ending as well. Bran definitely catching up there. But Wosa was able to get his head cool and takes it home. Wosa with 1,000 points, but Bran, Ortag, and Scrappy all with incredible points here as well. But congratulations to GGeek Wosa for his first ever win in this Elite Cup season. Wow, what an event that was, Geek. I mean, so many
It's
different
such a good
players
event that
in
my
there.
camera froze again. Sorry to interrupt you, Kai, but I think I've had some issues with my camera that blocked my audio, and I think you're gonna have to deal with my face like that for a little bit of for the next few minutes, as we're gonna be riffing through the standings, which I think are updated. Let me quickly get a gander at that, and well, the standings are updated, but not in the right way so far. So let me just quickly arrange that for you in just a second.
But it is Wosa. I mean, I can also foreshadow a bit, because Wosa with that performance jumps from 20, I think it was like 22nd, 24th, something along those lines, to second position. Wosa with 1,084 points now, ahead of Granadi, who's on third. Mudda, of course, still in first position. I think he will still stay there for quite a bit. And then we have Binks on fourth, Naiko on fifth after getting eliminated on P48, and Massa still claiming, I think he was even on P6 along those lines beforehand, with another fifth place getting P6. And then Bran up to P7, Epos on 8th, Ortag on P9, and Xera dropping all the way down to 10th place.
Yeah, indeed. That's the top 10 standings, as you can see them on the screen right there. Following a little bit further behind, Carl Jr. dropping down to 11th, Scrappy making his entry into the top 12. Gwen Heavlegger, 13th through 15th. Then we see Josh in P16, completing the top 16. And for the nations that are currently qualified in ENC, well, Australia, France, Germany, that hasn't changed. The UK also in there. Canada as well. Belgium making the move into the number 6 spot with Scrappy's creditable performance. 7th place for Hungary. Switzerland still in there, and 8th, 9th for Czechia. 10th for Croatia. 11th place for Poland, with Rotaker still flying the flag. 12th place for Charles. 13th for the Netherlands and Spam, taking the mantle from Stufts. Then Russia moves up to P14 with Nitek at the helm. Slovenia in 15th, and New Zealand making an incursion in the top 16
so
with
cool.
J-Swag on 92 points.
That is so cool to see. J-Swag with 3 Elite Cup showings already here. P20, P46, and P54. Definitely a considerable performance, and with that, overtaking, I think it was Noisia, and also I think Russia as well. No, Nitek is still on P14. Of course, he has gotten a very good performance in last week, and also in this week with 37th position as well. But, well, that is it. That was definitely an event to not forget. 4 players in the top 4 who were in dire need of points, and GGeek jumping all the way to the top 2. You love to see that if you're Wosa, but also huge for Bren, up to P7 for him as well. Definitely relieves some pressure for him. But then Carl Jr. and Pack, both not even in the top 10. Carl Jr. 11th right now, and Pack on 21st, as well as Afi down to 23rd position. Geek, he was eliminated so early, and definitely not an event that he was anticipating to go like that.
Yeah, indeed, and that's a very unfortunate timing to have had that early knockout for the likes of Afi and Carl Jr. as well, in a sense. Well, he's still pretty nicely sit in the top 11, so there's still some places to bounce back, but for Afi, that was not the kind of outcome he was hoping for. And another man who was praying for a different outcome was Naiko, who falls down to P5. He's still locked into the top 8 for now, but for his first event under the Foot Esport banner, he was probably looking for something a little bit more creditable and to bring a little bit more happiness to his new team compared to what happened. And we're going to be showing you the schedule for the remainder of the season once again. Here is the schedule for the entire Elite Cup. You see the Winter 2026 season at the very top there. China and France have already been played. USA has been played today. Next up on the schedule, Brazil. It will be on March the 7th at 5 p.m. Central European Time, and we'll be following up with the Greek round, the final round of the winter season, on March the 14th. And also, we do have a bit of an info that was dropped on the official Discord. The next campaign, so Spring 2026, will be released on April the 15th, and that will also be the time of release for the next 5 maps, which will be used in the spring season, which you see the schedule just below there, with one exception that you see, May 17th. It will be on a Sunday and not a Saturday. That's important to keep in mind.
Yeah, that's very important to keep in mind. I think there was someone, I think Afi was said even on Twitter, oh, that is good to know. That is definitely something that you can just overread or overlook if you take it for granted that it happens every time on a Saturday. But I think that's a wrap, Geek. I mean, that was an amazing event. And also thank you everybody for watching. I think it was very good to see the likes of Wosile and also Brand performing that well. We've seen a mistake in the final though, and also Geek being in the void, as you can see here, but I think he's on it, so don't worry about that one too much.
No, my camera's been perennially claimed by the Shadow Realm. Sorry about that, Kai. I couldn't resolve that unless I wanted to risk my audio working out again.
Yeah, okay, but I think with that, I'm just going to close it. I've been Kai Ludwig, aka Lackerstover, and I've been joined in by Team Geek, aka Thomas Mangosi, or other way around. And without further ado, have a good evening, a good night, a good day, wherever you live right now. And we're going to see each other next week.
Much love.
Bye-bye.
Much love. Be kind, stay safe, and see you next week. Godspeed, people.